On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the flyweight title fight, which is going to be the co-main event of UFC 323, last pay-per-view of 2025. My name is James Lynch. If you've never watched the show before, I'm going to go through a bunch of different stats, a bunch of different intangibles. Then I'm going to give you my prediction for this fight at the end. Let me know in the comments after you're done watching the video which way you're leaning on this fight. And of course, I am talking about the flyweight title fight between champion Alexandre Pantoja and Joshua Van. Let's do a quick tail of the tape like we normally do on here. You can see Pantoja, the current champ, 35 years old, 24 years old for the fearless Joshua Van, 5'5" apiece, same height, 68-inch reach to 65, so slight reach advantage there for the current champion. And again, 5-round title fight. Fun one to end the year. Let's start first with the current champ, Alexandre Pantoja at 125. The Cannibal is 30-5, like I mentioned there. He's got 8 knockouts, 12 submissions, and 10 decisions. He's 35 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. So he'll have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. Trains out of American Top Team. Made his MMA debut way back in July of 2007. Did not have an amateur debut. Went straight to the pros. Did not make his UFC debut until January of 2017 off the Ultimate Fighter Season 24. Ended up winning that fight in his UFC debut against Eric Shelton, which was a split decision. Pantoja is 14-3 in the UFC. He's got 8 stoppage victories, some notable wins. He's got a lot of them here. He's got 3 wins over Brandon Moreno, 2 wins over Kai Kara France. Wilson Hayes was ranked at one point. Manel Kopp, Brandon Royval, Alex Perez. Actually, 2 wins over Brandon Royval, Steve Ursig, and Kaya Sakura. His only losses, these are kind of interesting looking back now. Dustin Ortiz, Davison Figueroa, and Askar Askarov. Remember him a couple of years back? Those are his only losses. Last time he lost was way back in July of 2020, so it's been a long time since he's suffered defeat. He's had a few layoffs in his career. If we look at Brandon Royval going to Alex Perez, there was a 343-day layoff. Then going from Perez to Moreno, there was a 343-day layoff there as well. Since then, been pretty active. This is going to be his second fight this year. Fought twice in 2024, twice in 2023. So he's about a 2-fight-a-year guy type thing. I mentioned he's had some close fights. If we go look at the Dustin Ortiz fight, the first fight he lost in the UFC, 14 media members scored the fight for Ortiz, 3 scored it a draw, and 3 scored it for Pantoja. So again, majority did feel like Ortiz deserved to win the fight. If you go look at the Manel Kopp fight, a lot of people talk about that one being a bit of a robbery against Kopp. But if you go look at the media scorecards, not a single media member scored the fight for Kopp. It was all Pantoja, 17 media members total. That was back at UFC Fight Night back in February of 2021. And then the Steve Ursig fight, people talk about that, where Ursig had a great performance, but ultimately didn't win. That was at UFC 301 back in May of 2024. 22 media members scored the fight for Pantoja, 3 scored it for Ursig. You can find all this on MMA Decisions under the Fighter tab, which is great. Let's go look at his stats. Pantoja's significant strikes landed per minute, 4.36. His striking accuracy is at 50%. Striking defense is at 49%. He does get hit a little bit. Takedown average is 2.80. His takedown accuracy is only at 47%. His takedown defense is at 69%, and his sub average is 1.0. That is everything you need to know about the current flyweight champion, Alexandre Pantoja. Let's go look at his opponent, Joshua Van, getting a huge opportunity here and looking to join the class that's not very long of young fighters under 25 winning a UFC title. There aren't many of them. I know John Jones is one. There's a few other names there, but yeah, big opportunity here for Van. So Van is 15-2. You can see there he's got 7 knockouts, 6 submissions, and 7 knockouts, 2 submissions, and 6 decisions. He's currently ranked number 1 in the weight class. He is 24 years old, 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. So the only advantage he has in this fight from a physical standpoint, or just in general, is that he's 11 years younger than Alexandre Pantoja. He's got fight of the night one time against Brandon Royval, which was his last fight. He's got the highest significant strikes landed per minute in UFC history at 8.86. We'll get to the stats a little bit later. He also has the highest striking differential in UFC flyweight division history at 2.5. Here's some interesting numbers here, and I kind of forgot about this. Joshua Van had his amateur debut in December of 2020. By that point in Pantoja's career, he already had 26 career fights. So it just shows you the experience gap there. Made his debut shortly after that in about a year later, less than a year later, in October of 2021. By that time, Alexandre Pantoja had 28 fights in his career. And then here's the interesting one, kind of put things in perspective. So Joshua Van makes his UFC debut in June of 2023. By that time, Pantoja had 12 UFC fights at that point. So again, that is one thing to keep an eye on. Pantoja been in the UFC for quite some time, like I mentioned, coming off the Ultimate Fighter that season. Van is 8-1 in the UFC. His notable wins, we'll put Zalgas in this category as debut win, because Zalgas, I know he left the UFC shortly after that, but he had been ranked, I think, for a while in the weight class. So that was a good win. Outside of that, we'll add in Cody Durden as well. He was ranked at one point, Bruno Silva. And the biggest win of his career was his last fight, and that's what got him the title shot, was the win over Brandon Royval. Very impressive win. Royval hasn't lost to that many fighters that haven't been a UFC champion. Like if you look at Royval's resume overall, that's why this win was so good. Royval, you look at who he's lost to: Pantoja, 2 losses to Pantoja and Moreno. Those are, the only fighters he's lost in the UFC, and they happen to be former champions as well. So that was a very, very big win for him. The Charles Johnson fight was weird. I thought Van was ahead in that one, and then Johnson ends up getting the right uppercut knockout just 20 seconds into round 3. So kind of interesting looking back now that he was able to turn things around and get a title shot here. One good thing about Van, and part of the reason he's getting this title shot as well, very active. So since 2023, I mentioned it there, since he made his debut, he's had 9 fights. This is going to be, and I didn't realize this, I kind of forgot that the Rhea fight was back in March. This will be his 4th fight this year. This is another guy that, at the time of recording this, well, shouldn't be any spoiler or anything, but, I think if for some reason Merab Dvalishvili doesn't win his fight against Petr Yan, which, by the way, I already did an early look preview for that, but, Joshua Van's got a strong case here because this will be his 4th fight this year, right? Like, you can't ignore the activity. Obviously, Islam is going to be up there too with him winning 2 belts, but still, the activity level for Van is very impressive. Like I mentioned, 4th fight this year. Van hasn't had any close fights despite some of these decisions here. Let's look at his stats. We talked a little bit about it there. Look at this. Significant strikes landed per minute, 8.86. His striking accuracy is at 56%. His striking defense is at 57%, so very high there. His takedown average is 0.85. Takedown accuracy 63%. His takedown defense is 81%. Key fact, the thing there, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Let's go look at the betting odds right now. As you can imagine, Alexandre Pantoja, almost a 3-1, 2-1 favorite around there. Most books having him just about around minus 230. Some books having him closer to minus 250. And the comeback on Van is about plus 185, plus 186 around there. If we go look on Tapology, similar story there. You look at the picks and anyone can pick here. Out of a total of 1,185 picks, 70% of people are picking Alexandre Pantoja, just 30% picking Joshua Van. If we go use our AI tools here, Fight Signal has Pantoja winning 54.45% of the time, so they're much closer. And again, I'm recording this a little bit earlier. I'm sure closer to fight time we'll have more data points, but right now Pantoja's in the lead. If you guys want me to do an AI predicts video where I go through all the data as to how they came up with this, I'd be happy to do it. Just let me know in the comments. And Agent MMA doesn't have this fight up there yet. That's another AI tool I use, so I can't give you their prediction for this fight yet. Okay, what is going to be my prediction for this fight? Don't think it's going to be anything groundbreaking here. I'm not picking Joshua Van, guys. Sorry, I can't do it. I'm going to go Alexandre Pantoja by decision, and here's how I came to that conclusion. So, a couple things. First and foremost, if you look at Pantoja's career, most of his wins come by submission, but you look at it there, Van has never been submitted in his career, and he's also got 81% takedown defense. So I don't think this is going to be like what we've seen in the last couple of Pantoja fights, where he goes in there and submits opponents. I don't think that's going to happen. We're going to see another rear naked choke. We might. Anyone can be finished, right? I mean, I'm not going to look past that, but the data kind of backs up the fact that decision is probably more likely. And like I mentioned there, Pantoja's second rate of, victory usually is by decision. He's got 10 decision wins total, just 12 submission wins as well. So only 2 more submission wins than decision. And that's 33% of his wins. He's got 8 knockouts as well, but don't think that's going to be much of a factor. We'll talk about it there. The key thing is, if you wanted to look at a path to victory by stoppage for Pantoja to Van's been knocked out, right? Charles Johnson knocked him out a couple of years back, or actually not a couple of years back. It was last July, which is crazy to think. But if you look at Pantoja's last knockout win, it was a long time ago. You have to go all the way back to the Matt Schnell fight, and Matt Schnell's been knocked out like 6 times in his career. So while he did get a knockout there, it's not like he knocked out a guy who's like tough to finish, right? I mean, let's look at it now. Matt Schnell, I think he's up to something. He just got knocked out in his last fight again. He's got 5 losses by knockout total in his career, and he got submitted in his last fight. I forgot about that. But kind of the point I'm making is that Pantoja's not much of a knockout artist. If you wanted to look at one path to victory, maybe it is knockout, but again, submission I don't think happens there. The thing with this fight that if you're picking the Van side, I think you're probably doing is you're probably betting on potential. He's 24. Like, I don't even think we're anywhere close to the finished product here. So in some ways, he's getting this opportunity a little bit early, but it's also like he could get better and better. Like his last fight against Brandon Royval, very impressive, and we definitely saw a level up in that one. Can that level up in this fight be enough to defeat Pantoja? I don't know, but I understand people picking him here for the simple fact that you're betting on potential. But saying that, you can't also ignore how dominant Pantoja's been the last couple fights. It's been great. Now, if you want to add an area of concern for Pantoja, I mentioned it there, 49% striking defense. He does get hit a bit. Van, we saw the output, right? A lot of output on his end, 8.86. That is a bit concerning. But saying that, Van has only won 2 of his 9 UFC fights by knockout, right? And they were to Bruno Silva. I'll give him that. That was a good win there. And Felipe Buenes, right? So in other words, like, he's not knocking everyone out, right? He almost knocked out Brandon Royval actually in their last fight, but still, I don't really consider Van like a knockout artist. He's a very good volume guy, like we see with the stats here. But again, I don't think like a one punch knockout's going to happen. It could happen. Maybe Pantoja's chin finally gives out, but I don't think it's going to be this fight. And then, yeah, just a couple other things on why I like Pantoja. He's fought better competition overall. We're talking about some, I mean, I listed off the names there of who he's defeated multiple times. These are all like highly ranked flyweights that he's defeated, like all good wins. Like if he wins this fight, like who's really left for him to fight that he hasn't fought already, right? He's fought pretty much everyone. So the resume is super impressive. And the other thing I'll add is that Pantoja's got more 5-round experience than Joshua Van does. Joshua Van has fought 5 rounds before. He's never gone 5 rounds in a fight, but he's prepped for a 5-round fight. He had the Fury FC title fight before he got in the UFC, so he's used to training for 5 rounds, or has been in the past. But we haven't seen him go 5 rounds. So does he slow down as the fight goes on? We'll have to see. Pantoja is certainly going to push the limit if he can't get him out early. So yeah, again, nothing groundbreaking here. And a lot of you are probably going this way too, but I think Pantoja decision is probably the safe pick here. And I think he retains his title. And then I know who knows what happens after this, but yeah, I think if bantamweight wasn't such a logjam right now that, well, I shouldn't even say it's a logjam, but I just don't get any indication Pantoja is going to move up, but we'll see. Again, not totally counting out Joshua Van here. I just think he's got a tall task coming up here at UFC 323. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below as far as your prediction for this fight. Let me know who you're picking. And yeah, let me know your actual prediction for this one. And then also, who do you think should fight the winner? That would be cool too. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at Lynch on Sports. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. My name is James Lynch. This is Early Look. Thanks so much for watching. This is probably going to be the last one I do for the year, unless you guys think of another fight for me to preview. But yeah, thanks so much for watching all the Early Looks this year, and I'll talk to you guys soon.